I think because I mean, I could give you a quantitative like 10% or 5%, but there's no real numbers behind it. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
you could do that. I mean, that's totally fine. You could do that if you wanted. That's not an issue.
Yeah, let's just do that. Just say 10%.
10%. All right. Plus 10.
And I guess for me, it's just a measurement of kind of like, am I increasing the number, weekly? So.
Exactly. Yeah. Not super accurate, but at least a way for us to, as a team, understand your perspective. And that's what we're trying to do. We're all working from different perspectives, and this All Hands is a place where we can bring all those perspectives together. All right. Team-wide announcements. Nothing too new in this. I think most of the people are up to date on any kind of team-wide stuff. Most of the meat, I think, will be in the milestone perspective, so let's get straight into that. On the funding side, grants and accelerators, we're still waiting on Long Hash Acceleratorn. I reached out to them and told them our launch plans. I think that a lot of these accelerators choose people based on how fast or how quickly they can get something out. So I kind of told them that we are looking to launch before Christmas, just in case that changes anything. We also need to apply for Retro PGF in 11 days, I think it ends, so looking to do that soon. On the crowdfund side, we got 19 out of 30K committed, with 8K actually in the multi-sig. I'm going to try to round out the commits this week, try to push us up to 30K if we can, and then get the commits in the bank next week, hopefully right after that. On the alpha, beta, and launch phases, just on the app side of things, rather, I will mention the alpha, beta, and launch functionality. The alpha is the blockchain functionality, login, send, receive tokens, etc. The beta is the fiat functionality, KYC, add funds, get cards, spend funds, and launch is the DAO functionality. So selecting the DAO and getting the rewards. We are currently on the alpha side of things. Our progress is here. I think we're something like 16%. We're in progress. We had some wireframes from myself, Anna Fant, and Lawrence this week. We had some basic login flow going on the implementation side from Tom, and we need to set up a meet with InfoSec this week for some deployment advice and updates. So that's kind of where we're at with the alpha. The way that we track the progress as we start getting things into the implementation ready for user testing, that number is going to jump quite a bit. So as you can see, we only have one thing kind of technically in implementation right now, but a lot of these things are related. So we'll probably move to implementation on a lot of these next week. On the card issuing side, first round of bank diligence was pretty mild. It's something that our card partner said that's a good thing. They don't have a lot of questions based on what we provided them, which means that in general, they probably are okay with the concept, and they're trying to just figure out how they're just trying to ensure that there's very little risk on them. Totally makes sense from a bank. Lots of stuff around anti-money laundering, but our program's set up in a way to discourage money laundering. So once you put money into the system, you kind of have to spend it through the card. So I think that is something that that's something that our partner Transcard called our ace in the hole, because it means that we can't use our program for money laundering, which is a big deal. And there is a sticking point on ownership. Since we're community owned, we're blowing their minds a little because the three people who are identified on the application, myself, Anna Thinker, and Sam Marin, all these people on the application don't have an ownership stake in the foundation. You know, we have governance rights, but not ownership. So we are looking at how this can work. But yeah, right now they're like, this doesn't fit our worldview. So we'll see how it goes. On the legal side, we did get a provisional EIN last week. That's an employer identification number. You need this to create a bank account. So we did get a provisional one last week. I'm going to wait for the full IRS thing before we create a bank account, just in case anything changes. But ultimately, we are moving forward there, even if we are a little bit blocked. On the DAO partner side, this is pretty much complete. Am I right, Anna Thinker?
Yes, it is.
All right. On the launch campaign, do you want to give us an update on this, Coffee Crusher? I don't know if you know you're muted.
Yeah, no, I was trying to unmute. I was pressing buttons. Okay, so Samantha's going to be writing long form and landing pages. Where Thank you to NF Thinker for connecting me with Roxy, for doing the nouns card design. And then the third thing is I'm going to be connecting with the Nouns DAO contacts to start working on a co-market, to understand their marketing channels and how they communicate to build out a co-marketing campaign with them.
Cool. I realize as well that one of our Bankless DAO members, Salman Needs a Job, is always promoting in Nouns DAO as well. So I reached out to him this morning just to see if he would be interested in working with us on this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about him. Little Nouns, right? He's always promoting
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So, and I see Anaphant has some noggles on her elephant. I'm wondering, Anaphant, do you have any insight that you could give us on connecting with Nouns DAO? Maybe that's something that we can connect with you. I'm not sure if you've promoted with Nouns DAO before.
No, I mean, just using the open source brand.
Okay,
I know that
cool.
Nouns Amigos, like the Latin American version, it's also very accessible. Maybe we could also reach out to them. I don't know how associated they are with the Nouns DAO.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be.
Sorry, they're pretty associated. So if we need the contact with Nouns DAO, actually Nation Bankers runs a couple of campaigns for them. So it could be one. Depends on what we want to.
I think we're mainly trying to hit a US audience, though, so I wonder, maybe we could ask them for their advice, but I don't know if we could actually use their channels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways, I will leave it to you, Coffee Crusher, to make those kinds of decisions since you're running the launch campaign, but I did poke Salman Needs a Job, and you can reach out to Nouns Amigos if you like.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Maybe Salman Needs a Job can help. All right. Related assets on our website, Taxman and blog, some fixes and updates to the website, including those partner images. So if you go to banklesscard.xyz, I kind of took away some of the old partner images and left it just as DAOpunks, Bankless DAO, and Nouns. These are the ones that we're launching with. These are the ones that actually gave us some funding. So I left those there. And Taxman has a provisional date selector functionality. I don't think it's working on my wallet, at least, but at least it's up there. So that's something. On the task perspective, unless there's anything else you want to say on this, Tom.
Nope, all good.
All right, cool. On the task perspective side, roll salaries for week 41. Yes, I did spend at least 10 hours a week. Hazzy, did you spend at least 5 hours on Bankless Card in the last week?
Yeah, I was doing the reference.
Nice. And Reyes, did you spend at least 5 hours a week on Bankless Card?
A bit more. Ibiza coming soon. I don't know how good it's going to turn out, but we did spend quite some time with working with Bankless Card.
Nice. And what about you, NF Thinker?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Tom?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Coffee Crusher?
Yes.
All right, great. Getting all hands on deck as we're working on this stuff. I did add a project into the inbox, which is NFTs for the Friends and Families round. We do have money coming into the multi-sig. We have promised them that we will give them some NFTs in exchange, and we have some images already, and someone who's ready to edit that image, Bobo to the Moon. So anyone feel like running with this little quick NFT project? Basically, what's involved is you would work with Bobo to create the NFT images. You would figure out the best way to create those NFTs, and then we would mint and send those NFTs from our multi-sig to anyone who donated. Anyone interested in this one?
I will raise my hand.
Nice. Now you're thinking about NFTs. Everyone's going to call you an NFT thinker.
They already do.
So you may as well think about NFTs while you're at it.
Exactly. Me and my non-fungible thought.
On the milestones, we have signed with a card issuing provider. We did sign with Transcard. Now we're going through diligence. So actually, I'm not gonna actually check that. But yeah, we are going through diligence right now. We have all the funds needed. We kind of mentioned this already. We have all the legal entities that we need. We're blocked on getting a U.S. bank account, but that's still there. Our Ibiza Next event. I put this into the done section, but is there additional things that we want to do for this? I assume that we're going to be getting some videos out of this and other content. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've asked for the videos, and they're going to be sending those across, so we should be able to get them up somewhere soon. We did mention Optimism in there and their RPGF round, so if we are applying for any RPGF funding, whether that's for Taxman or otherwise, we can always add that in there. And then one thing that sprung to mind is we've been handing out these cards. We've been getting people on the pre-launch list. We have been signing people up for emails. So it's about time that we issue a very simple on-chain credential for people having supported us up to now. Anybody who's on, I feel like anybody who's on the email list should be given a free mint. We can do it on Zora or we can do it somewhere else. And just super basic, maybe like it doesn't have to be a fractionalized portion of the chippy or anything complicated. It just needs to be a picture that says you are a supporter, and that's going to like create our first 1,000 true fans, right?
Yeah, agree with that. I think we have an on-chain goodies thing for this that we kind of deprioritized. Is this something that you want to bring back up?
Yeah, let's bring that back up, and I can continue working on that over the next week.
Okay. And anything else? Anything else that we want to look at for Ibiza Next? Reynes, did you get some first-hand video yourself as well?
Well, from Ibiza Next, we have, of course, the talk that we did. That's one. We have a few interviews that Andy and NF did, which I have to sort which ones go to the DAO for use and which ones stay with us. And we have an experimental vlog that I will try to put together in the closest time. So we have quite the amount of the footage from there.
Yeah. And another thing that I might mention as well is I'm not sure if March's event was live streamed or if there's any kind of link or anything, but you can cross promo that stuff as from the Bankless Card account if you like, right? March is a contributor, so just FYI if you want. It's good for his audience. It's good for our audience.
Definitely. I mean, they have a recording, though they didn't live stream it because the internet wasn't working at the spot where he was performing. But most definitely, I will prepare something.
Sweet. All right, I'll leave this in. Do you want me to put this in the I see it's in the communication weekly. Should I take it off all team projects, or are you going to continue working on it this week?
I'm going to continue working on it. I have to edit the videos. Andy's going to be editing the videos, but it can go in just communications. I don't it's not like a whole team thing.
Okay, well, I'll leave it here just so we can get an update a little bit later. Going down, already talked about Long Hash. We will hopefully get accepted in their accelerator, but we're not counting on it. Let's just say that. We have a U.S. bank account still blocked on this. We're going to try to get our full EIN. Got the provisional EIN. Need the full. All right, Transcard. We're just waiting to go through diligence with them right now, so you can see it right here. And actually, I'm going to take this off of here. This doesn't need to be in multi-projects. We're going through diligence with Transcard. Yeah, so we can see it here. All right, Optimism Retro PGF. I will try to submit this week. NFTs for Friends and Families round. NF Thinker is working on this. On-chain goodies, our actual Friends and Families round. I'm going to stick this right at the top. Boom. Create requirements for Alpha app. Again, I'm going to stick this at the top. Hey, NFM, do you have time to review this week now that you're back from Ibiza?
Yes, I sure will.
Awesome. I also booked our product meet for Thursday based on everyone's availability, so we can talk about it Thursday as well. We got our on-chain goodies, POC launch campaign. I will also stick. All team projects. All right, I'm going to assign this to myself as well and put this into this week. Yeah, so this Alpha app project. Alpha app. This is the blockchain functionality that I was talking about. And so we have the create requirements and these other things. They are kind of all part of this Alpha app that we're just putting here. We do most of our work in Product Weekly, but we'll look at that a little bit later. Customer journey maps. Rainus, how's this going?
They're done to the level that I created them. They are in our Media Bankless Card email. Still waiting for any reviews. I haven't received any reviews on those, but they are accessible in our Media Bankless Cards email.
So if I click on this, I can potentially review them.
Oh, that's the wrong link. I have to update the link.
Okay.
Do that.
I will review it as well. So here we go.
Rainus, where did you say that the link was? I remember you posting it, but I don't remember. Was it in the communications channel?
I'll repost it in an hour or so.
Okay, because I can look at it too. If that will be helpful.
All right. And Glean.ai. How's this going?
I haven't heard from Ashu at all. I'll reach out to him today.
Okay, sounds good. We don't need this Gnosis pay numbers anymore, so I'll remove this. All right, and we don't need Aragon at the moment. We'll remove this from here. Investor email list. Actually, this needs to be done. Well, I'll just stick it at the top here, but this needs to be done at some point. Okay, create more clarity on what Web3 integration looks like. We'll worry about that another time. Okay, so we've kind of gone through our Asana here. Is there anything else that we should be putting up or that someone is working on this week that isn't here on the Asana? Okay, cool. In that case, let's move back down to my favorite moment of the week. What did we ship last week? Feel free to call things out as you go. Tom and Lynx shipped some bug fixes and updates to the website. There's still some bugs as reported by myself and NF Thinker. These are things that we potentially could fix this week. Tom shipped a date select attachment, but I didn't actually get it to work. Tom, I don't know if I think you did see my feedback, but I'm not sure if we should do a screen share or something so you can see it in action.
Me through sort of what you're seeing so I can get a good visual sense on it.
Okay, cool. So maybe we'll do a screen share even this morning if you have time. Oh, I have a crazy morning but I may have
Yeah.
time.
You let me know.
Okay, will do. I shipped diligence documents to Transcard and did a bunch of back and forth with the bank. So hopefully, I'm going to cross my fingers that we're going to get approved by the bank. Myself, Anna Fant, and Lawrence. Oh, you know what I missed here? Is we need some. This is what I meant. I was wondering what I meant. Project card images. Yeah, so like it's actually card art. Success. Oop. Success.
Links is this? But I'll wait till you finish.
Yeah, no, this is the ones that we talked about for nouns and other things. I was thinking that I would assign this to you so that you can figure it out, but I just wanted to have like some sort of like accountability on this because I also have that card shop art guide, and I wanted to put the link someplace that you could get it. And,
yeah, that was just what I was going to ask you, which includes that template that they've provided, which where you put the Visa logo and all that. So that was what I was going to ask you.
Okay, here it is. So there's the Transcard template guide.
So I also added that link into the group DM with you and Rexy. Have you been in touch with Rexy at all, Coffee Crusher?
Not yet, but I will this morning.
Okay, yeah. If you could just ping him in that group chat, because he'll tend to sort of disappear off. If we don't keep him engaged, he'll just disappear. So
got it. Okay.
Yeah, push on there. He's great under pressure.
Thank you. Okay, good to know.
All right, so I'll send this to you. I'm going to stick this in here. It's starting to get a bit more important, so I'm going to stick it right above the POC launch campaign. I do think that this is going to be something that's useful for the POC launch campaign as well. Yeah, I'll leave it to you, Coffee Crusher. All right, Links, Anafant, and Lawrence shipped wireframes for the alpha app. Tom shipped out a first cut of the login for the alpha app. I don't actually know if this is live for people to use, Tom, is it?
It definitely is. It's definitely just prototype data and Growly testnet, but if you want to check it out, it's banklesscard.justplay.cafe.
Banklesscard.justplay.cafe. There you go. I'll put the link here in the all team projects. Sorry, in the all hands. All right. NF Thinker and I got 4,000 more in donation commits. We also made a list of potential donators. So we got to go through that list this week. NF Thinker, Venus, and Anafant presented at Ibiza Next. We have some links here. There's a Canva presentation and everything if you want to check it out. NF Thinker met with Alan from Transcendence regarding an augmented reality and 3D art. Would be very interesting to see that kind of thing. Accept all cookies. All right. Ooh, cool. All right, I'll take a look at that Canva later. Why does it do this? Why does it double this? I don't know. Anyways, discussion items. So, well, I guess first of all, anyone else, anything shipped last week that they want to call out? It could be something that we shipped internally. No? Okay. Discussion items. I didn't actually put anything here. I think that the two...
I cannot speak because I'm with another call, but I am dropping my updates here in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't even see that. Okay. Take a look. Wireframes and Scratch based on the final functionalities, contrast with the output that Tom dev. Yeah, absolutely. So the intent as well behind that is to, I'll put this in here. Worked on wireframes. Yeah, so the intent as well is for you to be able to use the POC, like the implementation, and kind of see like, oh, okay, this is where it's at. This is where it needs to be. Here's the biggest thing we could do to make that better. And you could just drop those in Asana. You could drop those kinds of like design advice in the POC discussion. Ultimately, I think like since October is a really busy month for you, Hazu, whatever. Yeah, I can make an assignment task with the link. Yeah, whatever you can pitch in from a design perspective is going to be super useful for us. Review the current POC implementation. I'm going to assign this to Hazu, and I will put the link that Tom shared with us earlier in there. Link. Review. And give some points on what the biggest thing we could do to improve. Yeah. So in general, Hazu, if you, I know that you have a lot in October. And the way that I kind of positioned it to you last week was don't think of yourself as a blocker. We're going to continue to move forward, trying to use your design as much as possible, the designs that you've already done. But the implementation is going to be probably not as good as if you were around to designing it with us. So what you can do is think of it as a way to level us up. Don't think of yourself as a blocker. We don't want anyone to be a blocker. Instead, think of it as an opportunity when you have the time, when you have the desire to give some design advice by just reviewing the app and taking a look at it, or reviewing the wireframes. However you want to do that, we are doing it in the POC thread. So any time you have to do that kind of thing is useful. Otherwise, we will drop you some Asana tasks as well. And I'll put this as well in the product weekly. Yeah, it's an awkward time for you, Hazu. I get that. It's no issue at all. We are all doing this as a team. Just because you have less time in October doesn't make you any less part of the team. So we're gonna do you proud, or at least as proud as we can, given the constraints we have. And we are going to be using a lot of the work that you've been doing over the last year. So just letting you know that your design will live on. We're just probably not going to do it as good justice as if you're with us, but no problem. After we launch, we can always make it better. All right. So in terms of the discussion items, I kind of wanted to leave this open because I know there are kind of three big streams of work that are going on. There is investment, or let's call it fundraising, because I'm trying to get away from using that word investment. Fundraising. There is the app building, and there is the launch campaigns, essentially like our communication efforts right now. So I just wanted to leave this to anyone, if there's any potential points you want to talk about on any of those sides. I have some stuff we could talk about, but ultimately we can talk about. I'm going to leave it to you first. Anyone have anything? Raise your hand, unmute, whatever you like.
I can just give you a very quick debrief on what I spoke with Alan about today. I had that quick chat, and so for those of you who don't know, Alan is an augmented reality and 3D artist, and he's from Argentina, so close to your home, Hazu, but he's actually living in Europe right now. So I'm going to drop a link to their website. I'll drop it in there right now, link, so maybe you can open it up on the shared screen so people can get a good idea of what he's doing. So yeah, these AR things are like you would open up an experience in an Instagram link. He thinks that would be the best way for us to do some sort of immersive marketing, interactive projects.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, Alan. Yes, yeah. Very high energy. Great.
He got so high with us. And then when you left, he's a really cool guy. Really, really lovely.
Yeah, he's definitely a cool guy. And then if you also take a look at his Instagram, that gives some more. I'll grab that link right now. So his Instagram.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was on his
got
page,
it.
but
You
it's
got
not
the link
loading.
there.
Yeah, I'm not a member of Instagram either, so that might be some issues.
Oh yeah, they want to track you. They want to.
I'm at Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. You can try the link that I just sent as well. That might be a bad link. So I know Bobo has been working on the cards, and Bobo, you do a fantastic job on the cards. So I don't want to like undercut your work at all. But one thing he would be able to do with 3D card modeling is do some not necessarily, I don't think we need interactive, but we need card models that are that can be either displayed in a better way on a website, or that work in a video, right? So they're spinning, they're doing sort of more interactive stuff. It would even be good to potentially hook you up with them, Bobo, because they might be looking for people to contribute. So there's lots of different options there. He is also willing to. He's not excited about the card. He wants to do it for us. He's not looking for a lot of money. So I mean, I told him we don't have any money, so he understands that part as well. He does want to make connections and network and potentially work with other things. What he really wants to do, what he's really excited about, is turning our Chippy into an interactive 3D character.
Oh, that's really cool.
That would be cool, because I'm kind of thinking what you could do with that on the website and landing pages and stuff that we post on socials, you know?
Yeah. If he works the model and then embed it in 3D Labs, which is a kind of where we usually, for example, I have a website that is interactive. And if you embed the 3D model previously in this lab, after that we can include it in the website, and it's very easy to work on. So that
I was also,
what?
I think that's a great idea. And I was also suggesting as well, if we have this 3D model on our website and other places, eventually we may want to do a crowdfunding video. Maybe this could be something that we could, it's an asset that we could use in our crowdfunding video as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's asking now for a proposal. So I'm just going to create a simple proposal that will describe what it is we're looking for from him right now, and potential opportunities that they can tap into in the future. So I'm not going to mention any specific compensation in there, but he does understand that this is bountied work, and that he would be compensated with Bank or Bcard.
Cool. Thanks for that update, Anna. I appreciate it.
Yep.
One of the things, unless there's anything else anyone wants to talk about, there is something I wanted to talk about. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're getting a bunch of donators. And in the back of my head, one of the reasons I was thinking about like governance rights, that's just something I think about in general. We are doing this, a lot of us, for governance rights. In fact, that's the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing in compensation for governance rights, right? Like that's what we do at the beginning when we're asking people if they did it. When you get a bounty, you're getting governance rights in the form of Bcard token. As we are adding these donators who are coming in, they're going to be getting some NFTs. They're going to be getting some governance rights as well. And I wanted to, I guess, talk to you about what that means, because I think ultimately we have a couple of groups of people, a couple of groups of stakeholders that I want to have a say in Bankless Card. One of the issues I think with Web 2 is that the only people who have a say in governance in Web 2 are typically the founders and the investors. That's it. Most of the employees have zero say. Most of the users have zero say. And I think that that's what's led to some of the crappiness associated with Web 2. Selling your data, spying on you in some cases, not letting you take your data to another platform, all of this kind of stuff. This is an issue with users not having a seat at the table. But it's not just users, it's also the people who work there not having a seat at the table. So I think that we have an opportunity to change that in Web3. And so I think for us, when we're thinking about as we're distributing governance rights, we have an opportunity to change this. In a Web2 company, I probably wouldn't have been able to get this many people involved or interested. And I myself would probably have taken the majority of governance rights for starting it. But ultimately, I don't think that that's good for Bankless Card. I don't think it's good for us as a group. I don't think it's good for the world to have another card that's like that. So what we did when we're talking about contribution is we tried to distribute governance rights, that is Bcard, to anyone who has contributed in any way. Now, where we're looking at adding donators to the mix, I wanted to think about what these donators are adding to it and how this could affect us in the future. So ultimately, what I think I would like, and this is something it's not a decision or anything that's been made by me, it's something that has to be made by the group. But I was thinking that we would balance equally investment with contribution. So every season we have certain contributions. Hopefully every season we have some investment. The idea would be that in the long run, maybe not for the past, because we haven't had investment in the past, but over the long run, if we have a way for people to either A, contribute by using their effort, or B, contribute in some kind of like monetary capacity, we could kind of even out those two groups so that they have an equal say at the table. And then when we have users, we try to give them an equal say too. And then finally, the last equal say is Bankless Card, the organization as a whole. So we have the contributors, we have the users, we have the investors, and then we have, the donators, and then finally we have like Bankless Card, the organization. So every group kind of has a seat at the table. What do you think of that idea? Does that make sense to you?
It does. It totally makes sense. And yeah, I know what you're talking about with the Web 2. So in regards to, so I can see for contributors, investors, monetary, what's the word you're using? Not monetary investors, but
donators, yeah.
Donators. So would that be like, say for example, they donate in, the second quarter, and if they donate again in the third quarter, let's just pretend they do they get, is it every single time that they donate that they get a little bit more governance? Is that how you're thinking?
Well, so yes, and I should also mention that this also assumes that governance is continually expanding. Governance is infinite over the long run. Over time, governance rights are infinite. The idea being that, yes, if you donate again, you get more, but we want to make sure that there's like kind of a base price for that, because we don't want to discount what our contributors are doing either, right? Mm-hmm. So overall, there are some mechanisms that I have in my head that maybe we could talk about, but ultimately, we want to make sure that if I put in 10 hours of work and someone comes in and donates $100, they're not able to get the same amount of governance because 10 hours of work is worth more than $100. One would say,
right? And
it depends what you're looking at.
And are you thinking like almost like a quadratic sort of voting governance? Is that what you mean by that?
Do you mean like distribution of governance rights or utilization of governance rights? Quadratic.
Utilization, meaning like, you gave the example of $100, right, that someone donates compared to 10 hours that a contributor works. When you're voting, like so it's, in other words, so if someone comes in with $50,000, let's just say, and then which usually in the old Web 2 world means that they get more say in the company, so to speak, right? And so what you're saying is that if there's contributors that are working, let's say 5-10 hours a week, or let's say 40 hours a month or whatever it is, that it should be an equal rights in voting, like when we vote on items that the community bring up.
I think that, I don't know if this is a great example, but let's just say for all contributors, all outstanding contributor governance for any particular vote, they have like 25% of the say. And the investors, as an aggregate, all investors together have 25% of the say. And all users all together in aggregate have 25% of the say. So if you need 50% of people to pass a vote, you need to get 50% of voting users and 50% of voting. You need to get all of these stakeholders behind this idea. At least the ones that are active in voting.
Yeah, and that makes sense because let's just say your user base is 10,000, right? And there's the contributors are 30 or 20, right? So then, yeah, that makes much more sense. It's like 25% is total voting power of the group, like donors or contributors or users or so forth.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's the kind of like baseline, let's say, idea or hypothesis is that, yeah. Hey, Hasu, you have something to say?
Yeah, I think that I'm agreeing with the part of the contribution, but I also think that we need to start to thinking the impact of the contribution. What is, for example, there is things like a strategy that for sure, if was in the past, doesn't have sense to right now. Well, like as you say, from now onwards, we should also have our rights if we contribute. But what about things that was previously do it and really has basis and impact on the project? I mean, we talk about the brand book, pitch deck, things that really were intellectual rights. That is another thing that I would like to bring to discussion because this was something that we, in that moment, we didn't have a lot of seriously. But what about UI kids and property, about intellectual property? This is something that I would like in future.
So let's talk about the first thing. So luckily, like the first thing, like past contributions, luckily in the past, we've been noting down our contributions so that we can come up with some sort of math that will allow us to distribute rights it's not going to be perfect, but at least in a way that we were like contemporaneous. So we have the outputs of all of the Bcard that we ever had in our lives. Actually, let's see if I have that open here. I have like a Bcard. Where is it? It's in the Notion. So I have a list of all of the Bcard that has ever been given, and the idea is like, Hazu, you were part of the project in season 3. There weren't that many contributors in season 3. And then in season 10, there's like, let's say 4 times as many contributors. I think that one of the things that we should note down is that, or not the things that we should note down, but just one of the things that we should think about is that, so here's the amount of Bcard that so you can see, boom, boom, boom. You can see we 6 million Bcard. So we should give out 6 million Bcard to investors. And so like ultimately, Hazu, for the stuff that you've done in the past, you should be getting the rights for those, not based on today, but based on what happened back then. So there was only, let's say, 10 of us working on Bankless Card. Those contributions, like that amount of contribution, valued higher than if like 30 people are contributing, even though we might get more done as a group of 30, while those people who came in earlier, they had a bigger impact over the long run. So the idea being that like, well, 1 million Bcard for 10 contributors versus 1 million Bcard for 30 contributors, the people who were in earlier are going to get more governance rights. That's the kind of intent behind it. And the impact of that is kind of hopefully baked into the ways that we distributed. Like, so we did bounties, we did coordinates, we did weekly salaries. All of these things contribute to our future governance. So, I mean, does that answer your question there? That like, we're not going to just say like, for all past contributions, here's the amount of Bcard we're giving. No, we're not doing it that way. We're saying if you are earlier, you are going to be getting more governance rights than if you are later. Does that make sense?
I think that solves part of my question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me,
Go ahead, Coffee Crusher. I don't know if you're talking Coffee Crusher, but I can't hear you. All right, maybe you can pop out and come back in, Coffee Crusher. But Hazu, can I get to the second part of your question around the IP? Back when this first issue of IP happened, I think that it was also like a very when someone steals something of yours, you kind of feel it in your gut, like, oh my God, they stole something from me. Anyone who's had anything stolen from them has probably felt this way, like you're getting something taken from you. And it feels like an emptying of your chest or an emptying of your stomach, right? At that time, we couldn't really do anything because we didn't have any legal entity. And now we do have a legal entity. So around the idea of IP, there are two parts of it. One is ownership, and second is enforcement. So I think that we have to think about both. But in terms of ownership, the way that I was thinking about IP is the same way that I was thinking about it for Bankless DAO, that anyone who creates IP for Bankless Card has a kind of like 50, like not a 50-50 ownership stake, but essentially like a free use of a free use within their own what is the thing I'm looking for? It's essentially like an inclusive Creative Commons 0. So Bankless Card can use it as much as they like, and the person who created it can use it as much as they like. And they can use it for any purpose they want, including money, but essentially including to make money. But ultimately, the idea is that do not restrict use of that IP for these two parties, but allow them to both use it as much as they want. So that's kind of like what the idea is around ownership. Does that make sense, Hazu?
Oh, it is. It's more than all the side that what we're gonna do in the future in the part of the UI kits in the branding for sure gonna to be reinvented because as whatever project grows, it's gonna change. But it will be nice to have like a special like protocol about the assets that's gonna be created and modified if in the case it's other designers.
Like you don't want the assets.
We can talk after that in more detail, but as well. I just wanted to bring it to the table.
Like I think as well, we have been up to this point, using this contributor's Figma and this other contributor's Google Drive. With this funding round, hopefully we can start creating like some actual Bankless Card assets. And so we can hopefully restrict who has access to some of these things in a better way. I don't know for sure because I'm not quite sure of all of the tools around this, but I think like when you are just like putting things together as best you can, you don't have the ability to restrict access as much. The further along we go on this, the more we need to ensure that everyone has the right level of access to what they need to get their stuff done, and no one has access to things that they don't necessarily need. Now, I think that in general, there are some things that should, like, by default, we should kind of be doing, like, you can view what we're doing because we're working in public, but things like you shouldn't be able to rip off wholesale our entire app designs by copying and pasting a Figma, right? Like we shouldn't allow for that kind of thing. But we should allow people to see like, oh, what is Bankless Card working on? Oh, here's some new Figma things. Okay, well, I can't copy and paste them, but I am inspired by them, right? Like I think like that's a kind of line. It's not easy to create that line, but as we're able to pay for tooling, it should start to get easier. Anyways, it is something that we can talk about a little bit more, but ultimately we need to make sure that the people who are giving access to our in-progress work are people who we trust, or we can at least sandbox people who we don't trust, so they can still contribute, but we don't give them the keys to everything just because they show up and want to contribute.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Coffee Crusher, did your sound get fixed?
Yeah, I'm hoping it did. what I was just saying when Jasu was talking about that in terms of levels and so forth. I mean, when you were saying, does it make sense for, like, if you've been with the project as a contributor longer, therefore you have more governance because you've earned more Bcard governance tokens. And I'm saying that totally makes sense because I'm newer to the project, right? You guys have been working on this for a year or more, so it's kind of, that makes total sense that I have less, that my governance vote is, I don't want to say worth less, but that's basically what it is, and that, I think that is totally fair.
Yeah, and the intent also is that you can earn more governance, right? Like the idea being that, like, I guess like one of the issues I had at Web2 startups is I was always join it around, like, employee 5, let's say, and I would join literally like a month after the founders, and yet I would have like not even 1/100th of the governance rights, right? So that's one of the things I would like to change with Bankless Card. That, like, let's say for instance, I decide to retire. Someone else can come in and eventually gain the same amount of governance as me. Or let's say NF Thinker is really pumped about Bankless Card and wants to invest more time and effort into it, and he has some path to accumulate more governance rights, while maybe I get tired and I just need a year off or something. That's okay. I don't have all the governance for that. Like, the intent is to continue to make it attractive for people to contribute, to invest, and to use our product, to contribute, to donate, and to use our product. And I do have some interesting ideas around how we could do that, which I'm not sure if you want me to lay it out in 4 minutes, but maybe it's worth it so you guys can think about it.
I just have a quick interjection, quick question there. You mentioned these 4 different groups: contributors, users, donors, and Bcard org. What is Bcard org?
So Bcard organization is just like, I guess, like, there's this idea that there are stakeholders that we don't actually know about yet. And so if we are giving out rights to stakeholders, and we have users, donators, and contributors, and all of a sudden some new group of stakeholders comes in that we never thought about, does our tokenomics just completely fall and die? No, because we could potentially carve out other sets of rights for people using this, like, kind of governance that we're holding back for the organization. But ultimately, that is kind of like a perpetuity of the organization governance. So the people who are elected to ensure that Bcard continues to exist and continues to follow our purpose, those people should be able to deploy those that governance rights if needed. Does that make sense? So, for instance, if the foundation is like, if investors are coming in and they're like, somehow they get all the governance rights, and they're like, hey, we want to completely shut down Bcard because we could make more money that way. There needs to be some kind of way to moderate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And so I guess one that we didn't talk about was partners. So it would be nice if we were able to give partners also a say, partner communities a say in how this works.
Would it be crazy if I said that I thought that they were users? I'm including them as users in my head, but maybe that's not what you're thinking.
The difference is anybody can be a user of that card. So anybody can go out and get an announce card, and they can be a user, and they can hold governance tokens. But the organization as a whole might decide that they want to propose an idea, or they want to they want to have us find a new payment integration, or they want us to partner with another community. Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. I guess we'd have to sort of dive in and figure out what the difference is between the users of those communities and the communities themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we look at like that 25% of users, that like 25% for users, it could be that 20% of that 25%, like 20% of the entire amount, like 80% of the user allocation goes to communities, and only 5% goes to individual users. It could be that. We don't know, right?
Yeah.
These are some kind of details I'm trying to hand wave. In terms of contribution and and donation. I think one of the interesting things is when we were looking at a crowdfund, I was thinking to myself, oh, what if we didn't have a crowdfund? What if we had like an ongoing crowdfund that just continually dispersed governance in exchange for donations? So like this idea, like Nouns DAO, they essentially give you governance rights in exchange for your contribution of ETH or your auction of ETH. I think that this is a really interesting dynamic, and I think like it's kind of shown itself to work. Like it works even in the bear market, and I think that that's really interesting. It's because it continues to engage people to donate. And I think that that's really important. What if we had something like that where we could give out governance rights on a regular basis? Maybe it's not a daily basis. Maybe it is. I'm not quite sure. And we would, by minimum, let's say, disperse governance rights based on what's in our treasury. So the more money we have in our treasury, the more expensive it is to get these governance rights. And the idea being that if we had an auction, we could have people who are donating in exchange for these governance rights, and the people who want it more could bid more. So that's just an idea. Instead of doing like a traditional crowdfund, what if we did a Web3 crowdfund in this way? And so we weren't just doing like getting all the money up front immediately. Now we were kind of like over the long term, having a way for donators to always have some way to get donation. I can't contribute in my time, but I will contribute in my donation, right? That's just an idea, just something I was thinking about. I do see that we're over time. Any questions or comments on this? We can continue talking about it next week, but I just wanted to kind of present the ideas early as we're trying to think through this stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to loop in DeFi Beats because he is a tokenomics. He works for a tokenomics company, and he is one of our investors, or one of our donors. So I'm going to just reach out to him and see if he wants to get involved in the conversation.
Cool. Sounds good. But I just want to I know we're a little bit over. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to everyone for being able to have these kinds of I would say difficult conversations. I mean, around IP, around ownership. These are all conversations that are difficult to have. But here at Bankless Card,